In the news this week, WA's top doctor unimpressed with the state's border arrangements as it sets to reopen.
The opposition addresses crime in Riverton in their fight to keep their seat.
Home free, the volunteers saving our swans from climate change and pests.
And on Western Perspective, a feature interview with Paul Van Lieshount Hunt.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Sarah Smith.
Good evening. WA's top doctor Andrew Miller has accused the state government of pulling a political stunt during an exclusive interview. This comes after Premier Mark McGowan announced WA's border controls will be relaxed from next month.
Based on that health advice and the rates of local infection in the eastern states, we are now at the next step of our journey to safely transition from our hard border to a new controlled interstate border.
While some border controls are still in place, Dr Miller doubts the motives and timing of this announcement. Here's reporter Kit Sanders' exclusive interview.
Last week you said that you didn't think that the borders were going to come down for quite a while now. What do you think changed in that time?
Well, I think politically things are very difficult for a state government when they're the last one left on the shelf. I think they've done their focus groups and they've realised that if they were left in this position in the lead up to Christmas, that it would become deeply unpopular. So I think that basically it is a political decision.
Do you have any advice for young people that might be thinking of travelling?
I would wear a mask if I was going to be using aircraft at all for any length of flight at all, and if I was going to be in a crowded place where I couldn't be socially distancing, because we're now opening up to the rest of the world. We have international travellers coming back into all parts of the country, and we know that COVID is only just getting started in many countries overseas, so it's on the way up.
Mark McGowan spoke today about how that there are low risk and very low risk states. Do you think that this is a good kind of indicator of where people are in their COVID recovery?
This is encouraging because it's a national standard that all of the states have adopted, so that they can say, based on the rolling 14-day average of cases, so low risk is more than 5. Very low risk would be less than 5 or for a longer period of time. So I think that it's good that we have an agreed definition around what those are, but we all know that one case of COVID, as we saw in the Victorian hotel outbreaks, one case can bring a whole system unstuck. So the other half of this is that we have to be prepared to deal with outbreaks. So that means testing, tracking, tracing have got to be very efficient. And in Western Australia, they've got to start using private pathology firms like we do everywhere else.
Community law and order remains high on the Liberals' agenda as they addressed community concerns in a Riverton forum. It's a key opposition area as they try to hold on to the Liberal stronghold, but concerns remain as they're still trailing behind Labor. Nelson Liu reports.
Working to protect the public, the Liberal listening to the concerns of the community in a Riverton crime forum.
Crime is something that's core business for governments. It's really, really important to get these things right.
Community members told of stories of being hit by crime, calling for a bigger police presence.
It's important that action's taken, and that's why I'm fighting for more local cops.
The party is fighting to hold on to Riverton with new candidate Anthony Spagnuolo. Commentators say the opposition as a whole remains well behind the government.
To some extent, they're relying quite heavily on a Labor mistake to, I guess, put them, really back in the game.
And have a better chance beyond next year.
But they've really got to keep together, work together, stay behind their leader, stay on message.
Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
WA's iconic black swan face significant survival challenges during the breeding season, as Cygnus' future are threatened by climate change and foxes. But a group of volunteers are determined to protect them, and Sarah, we've witnessed the rescue mission together.
That's right, Ivan. We were down at Forestdale Lake this week, where falling water levels mean cygnets are being abandoned by their parents before they're ready to fly. We were in the midst of the action while superhero volunteers saved nearly 20 cygnets. Here's our exclusive report. 20 years ago, the water at Forestdale Lake would be 2 metres deep in October. Now there's barely a foot of water, and the black swans that breed on the lake are leaving earlier and earlier in the year, far before their chicks are ready to fly. So as the lake dries up in summer, local volunteer groups mobilise to get the cygnets before they're abandoned and left for predators.
Yeah, that's good, Vince. Great result. And if you look after their welfare and make sure they're not stressing out too much, that'd be good.
This year's operation is about 2 to 3 months earlier than usual, and if the volunteers hadn't been out here to rescue these cygnets, they would have been eaten by foxes. So it's all for a very good cause. Volunteers from Friends of Forestdale, WA Seabird Rescue and the Darling Ranges Wildlife Rescue Centre rescued 17 black swan cygnets.
To be able to save them from a terrible fate of being eaten by a fox or torn apart by a fox, and to know that they're going to be raised and they're going to be set free and they're going to have a life is just, that's the payoff.
Initially, the cygnets will be hand-raised by volunteers at home before moving to the Darling Range Wildlife Shelter, then finally being released at Joondalup Lake.
Experts claim new Perth Mayor Basil Zempilas needs a chance to learn his job after he apologised for comments he made on Talkback Radio. Zempilas made his comment during his breakfast program on Wednesday morning, but apologised a day later, calling it a bad mistake. Commentators say he's new to the game and time is needed.
The lesson is, to learn, to be seen to be learning, not to be quiet, not to not say things that you mean, be honest to people and then be open to learning. And that means people have to be open to politicians learning and giving them time to sort of change.
Job training in WA's rail industry is set for a boost, with Midlands Metronet Training Centre now complete. The centre will be a dedicated facility with rail signalling workshops and new electric rail signalling certificates joining engineering qualifications for Metronet manufacturing and maintenance. Training at the facility will begin in Semester 1 2021, with the courses expected to assist in job creation.
WA Police is offering a $1 million reward for information on a 40-year-old missing persons case. 12-year-old Lisa Mott was wearing a light blue t-shirt when she was seen getting into a yellow panel van on Forest Street in Collie in 1980. Her mother Marion hasn't seen her since and is seeking closure.
If you are still out there, Lisa, somewhere, I still love you. I still love you to bits.
The homicide squad is actively investigating her disappearance and suspected homicides. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers.
US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has visited Vietnam during the final stop of his tour of Asia. Mr. Pompeo met the Vietnamese president to celebrate 25 years of peaceful relations. Mr. Pompeo says both sides are prioritising further development and peace within the Southeast Asia region. North Korea's state media has accused South Korean authorities of mismanagement following the death of a civil servant in a shooting incident near the border. The Hermit Kingdom has justified the shooting as necessary to keep COVID-19 out of the country. They say that a major search for the victim's body is underway, but has so far been unsuccessful.
A groundbreaking 7-year space exploration project has hit a significant milestone by securing a sample of the asteroid Bennu. NASA probe OSIRIS-REx travelled 330 million kilometres to the asteroid's orbit between Mars and Earth to obtain a 60-gram sample of the ancient rock. The precious cargo was finally secured after a 48-hour round-the-clock operation for engineers on Earth. After a 2-year journey home, it will cast new light on sources of Earth's own organic molecules.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website and social media pages.
No matter where you're watching, we wish you good health and take care.
Have a nice evening.